Okay, good evening, everyone. You're watching Dr. Politics, the Political Arctic Show. We are live, I think. I'm just checking, make sure. Yeah, we are live. For some reason, it took a little bit of a slower start on the YouTube side of things, but we are live. David will be joining us shortly. He is running a few errands and he's running late. The calendar says it's April 5th, 2024. We're in the second quarter, but the temperature outside says it's like in early March, late February.
Yeah, when that Facebook memory popped up that I had a year ago, or yesterday, whatever it was like 76 degrees, and I was cutting the grass. I'm like, yeah, there was a 25-degree difference between last year and this year, and that happens, right? I mean, sometimes we get a cold April, and sometimes we get a nice April, and I think.
And this year we got a wet April. I am so tired of this rain.
Yeah, no kidding.
I tell you.
Yeah, it's
crazy, and we're gonna get more rain again later next. I think how we used to have the DC pattern of rain on Saturdays, Sundays, and then be great Monday to Friday. It seems like now we're getting the rain like midweek, like Wednesday to Thursday. Next week I think the rain is going to be from Thursday to Sunday, which is horrible, I think. And we're almost near tax day.
Yeah. I'm waiting to hear from my CPA as to what they've done.
Yeah. I'm done. I just need to tell them to transmit it. And I said, just do it like 8 p.m. on the 15th.
Yeah. Don't give them their money before before they have.
As I was telling a friend of mine, it's like I'm like Ernest and Julio Gallo. They serve no wine before it's time. I don't pay my taxes before it's time, frankly. I wonder, are they even in business, Ernest and Julio Gallo?
I'm sure they are, but I mean, I guess the Gallos have long died. So yes, those are kind of classic commercials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's kind of welcome, Susan. But there's just crazy. I'm just fed up with the rain. I know it's great for the garden, but it's also good for pollen season too. The pollen's going to be coming out like gangbusters, and there's not much. Oh, David's here.
I think we even got a
little. Hey, David.
Hey, sorry, I was late.
Yeah, no, we're just complaining about the rain and the cold.
It's old rain.
And the cold.
It started in March, and I always believed it was April showers that bring Mayflowers, not in March. But and a good bit of flooding. I was on the Parkway the other day, having to go to a funeral in DC, and it was starting. It was early. I mean, it started getting flood, a big, huge puddle.
Right underneath right near 110, right?
Yeah. And so it was kind of backing us up a little bit, but I don't know if it had gotten much worse. I assume it would have because that was kind of early in the day.
Yeah. And it is the estimates are coming in about the Key Bridge collapse. The original bridge was built by a company called J.E. Griner Engineers in Baltimore. Big Baltimore firm. They've done a lot of stuff around, right? Yeah, they built that bridge in 5 years. And it's an interesting bridge because I understand there are some issues that may or may not have led to the demise of Democrat Governor Marvin Mandel. But then again, he was acquitted afterwards in the 80s. But that's another story for another day. But and now best estimates. I was talking to some of the engineers I know and the environmental attorneys I know. Evidently, it's going to take roughly about 12 plus years. Just the environmental impact study the federal government will make us do is going to take 3 to 5.
Wow.
Then you got to do the Endangered Species Act. Why can't they do all that at once? And why do we need to do all these permitting? Because the bridge was already there. It's not like it's never was there and we're putting it there. but the bridge, and we had an earthquake today. Don, did you feel anything?
No. I mean, I saw the story pop up, and I'm like, wow. And I guess, I mean, there's just been a series of earthquakes. I think the
Yeah,
West
and I
Coast.
think these were more like the Haverty Grace, Harford County area for feeling the. I didn't feel anything, frankly. I remember, was it a couple months ago? Didn't we have an earthquake also like a couple months ago, like late last year, like in the October timeframe, September, October? I seem to remember something like that.
It's always possible. I mean, we.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, Susan.
Yeah. Susan's always working.
Oh yeah. Well, I got another one coming, and I'll not interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. As I was speaking of books, we were at Governor Ehrlich's book party last night for the state. He did graciously did an event to benefit the state party. Well turned out. A lot more people turned out than said they were going to turn out. It's like we were in a packed house, hosted by Dirk Hare, our former chairman of the MTGOP. I tell you, Dirk and Jessica always put out a really nice spread for people when they're out there. They're the best hosts, I think, that I've been to, and I've hosted events for us. I think there's we've got some great hosts, but I think they're like on the top tier of our top hosts for events and stuff like that. Great book. It's going to be coming out in hardback too, Don. It's right now it's a paperback, but the Governor informed it's going to be coming out in hardback soon. So maybe for our May 9th club event, Don, we'll have the hardback version for our club members. But Governor said great things, and so on.
One question about on the bridge. One more question.
Sure.
I imagine, are they going to give it a new name? I imagine
that definitely has popped up because of the slavery issue.
Yeah.
Well,
if I remember Congress, I'd say, well, we're only giving you the money to replace the Key Bridge, and therefore it would have to remain named after Key. Otherwise, wouldn't do it.
Well, here's they don't like Francis Scott Key. Let's call it the Allen Key Bridge.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Allen Keyes, for that, this family goes back to being slaves of the Keys Plantation. Hence, they got the name, Allen Keyes. So
I worked on his show at NET.
Do you? That's right. He had a show at NET. Yeah, midday show. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. I know this will sound bad, but he's still with us?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Living in Maryland.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I always liked Allen Keyes.
So, by the way,
I thought it was odd though. The whole, he ran against Obama for some reason. They brought him up to Illinois. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for U.S. Senate. When Jerry Ryan, 7 of 9's husband, got into some trouble and dropped out.
Yeah.
And who knew 7 of 9 was a Republican? But well, maybe we don't know if she was. He was. I know that. But that's another one. That's funny how John Kerry got his sealed divorce records unsealed. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. If he were a Democrat, everybody would be crying foul, frankly.
Yeah.
But we've got but we've got addition to that, even Governor Moore refers to it as the Francis Scott Key Bridge. He has not changed anything. He has not said anything yet publicly if they're going to be changing the name of the bridge or not.
Yeah.
I
mean, maybe not. I'm just guessing. That's all.
But I have seen reports of that people are.
Mayor Gangbanger
opportunity.
Yeah.
Mayor Gangbanger wants it done. But every time I see the mayor, I think of Chance the Rapper. He kind of looks like Chance the Rapper.
Yeah, putting that guy on television because he always looks the same as like that is like one of the guys who looks the least mayoral of just about anybody I've ever seen in the United States.
Maybe if he'd wear a coat and a button-up shirt sometimes, maybe that'd help him. I mean, we played the clip last week when he was on MSNBC saying everyone's a bunch of everyone in the state of Maryland's a racist, he says they don't have the nerve to say the N-word. That's why blah, 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 Now, we'd say the same thing if you're white too. Sorry, Mayor. If you're white and you're running the city the way you are, we'd still call you the same things we call you now.
Well, I mean, there were a bunch of, I guess, calls, maybe tweets or something like that blame that blame that whole accident on DEI. I'm like, you're really stretching that. That's really ridiculous to tie that. I mean, DEI is like, how do you actually justify trying to say that DEI had anything to do, with that whole ship, crashing into the bridge and all that? That's just nonsense. It's pretty stupid stuff. And I could see the bridge taking, a dozen years or so in theory, but I just have a feeling that, with the government promising to, they know that, it's the 10th busiest port in the U.S. There's a lot of business in there. It's the largest port for car delivery. They will find a way to speed this up as much as they possibly can, I think, because, the work, the traffic is being diverted to Virginia and to other ports, New Jersey and stuff like that. But the shipping companies, I saw they've gone ahead and they've gone and implemented force majeure. So they said, they will not pay for the extra costs associated with getting the goods, transported around. So that's something that people would want to fix, because the immediate cost of getting that on there, it's like it adds a lot of money to the cost of shipping those goods to other places and then putting them on a truck and then getting somewhere else. And then trying to get through Baltimore traffic. There's just so many issues. They've got to build that bridge back as soon as they can. And we've seen bridges being built. If certain politicians get involved, they come back.
If you remember the San Francisco Bay Bridge collapse during the World Series earthquake of '89, I think they built that bridge. I mean, that granted, it wasn't exactly a full bridge collapse, but it's California. God knows they probably had environmental studies on that. And they probably had to do all the impact stuff because it's California. But then again, that was Pete Wilson's California, so maybe not. But that was that bridge was, I think, rebuilt in 18 months. You had that Sunshine Skyway Bridge in Florida was rebuilt in 2.5, 3 years, I think. And I think if Democrats are smart, they will waive those and let us get this bridge built in 5 opposed to 12 plus. Because 12 plus years, that is an entire generation. When you get to 12 years, you're talking an entire generation. We'll all be 12 years older. If it's going to be 12 years to have that bridge done, it will be that is insanity, frankly.
Yeah, no, I can't. I understand that construction can take a while, but we have seen projects get back up and running and get things put together pretty quickly. And even if it was something that was somewhat temporary until they built a more permanent structure or whatever, there are ways in today's world of getting this done quicker than 12 years. And you just think the cost to the economy, to businesses around Baltimore, for having that port closed are tremendous. So no one wants to see that port, stay closed for any period of time.
I mean, we don't want to see that happen, frankly. We want to see a thriving port, frankly. I don't think it should be any. It should basically definitely need to be viewed as a port. We need to have that port open. They got one of the shipping channels open, but I tell you, that's we had Jim Ports on our sister show. One of the things he brought up a great point. You can't, when you put the cranes up, right? you got to get people off from them as soon as a thunderstorm rolls through, because cranes and lightning don't mix. So, and the fact that we're building this in the springtime is going to make it all that much more harder, or even in the summer, because those rolling thunderstorms we get through here in the summer times, with all the lightning and all that happening, so it can happen any time of the day. So you got to clear everything out, and so on. So, from what I understand, best estimate is going to take them to around like early May to get the bridge cleared and the dolly out of the harbor, frankly, at that point. Do we know if it was a Supermax, not a Supermax, a Panamax class? I think it was. I think I saw it somewhere. But
I mean, it was 980 feet long.
Yeah. It sounds like that's a Panamax class.
And then it was loaded enough that it weighed what? Just enormous. Enormous. There's enormous weight to that. So it's a big ship that can hold like 135 or 200,000 containers or something like that. So,
Yep.
And the containers are still there on the ship. I mean, the ship isn't sinking.
Yeah.
But they also have that issue of they've also got to get the ship moved and get containers off the ship so they can get the goods that are on the ship to where they need to be.
Yeah.
There are just so many issues here.
And a lot of times it's I know my friend Ray Kroll, he used to he was telling me a story like when a boxcar overturned in upstate New York, he bought all the damaged goods out of there, all the paneling. That's how he kind of got into the paneling business. About how he bought these, he tried to sell it to the lumber warehouse, nobody would buy it, so he rented a gas station and put up a sign paneling 99 cents, and he goes, the stuff was, I was selling stuff so fast, I had to finally go get some more. He was telling me how he was bringing bags full of cash home, and his wife was asking, "What are you doing that you're bringing all this, cash?" She thought he was doing something shady.
That sounds like today's pot dispensaries where banks won't take the money because it's still a federal, offense, and they can't. So, virtually every bank in the country will not take any of these pop dispensaries as customers because they don't want to get in trouble with the feds. Yep. So they have all this cash, but they can't. What do they say? They can't put it anywhere. I mean, they can't put it into a bank. It's just they're targets, I think, just out there as well.
Yeah, and I think which honestly, this whole I was driving yesterday back from NASA, and you could smell the pot coming from the cars on the road, and I mean, this is a shame. You shouldn't be driving and smoking pot at the same time, or as the kids would call it, hot boxing, frankly. You are basically endangering other people on the roads. It's bad enough I smell it in the parks when I'm running. The fact that I have to smell it, when I'm driving, that makes me more nervous than opposed to when I'm running, because, someone's in a car in the running path, which, could happen if you're high enough, I guess. But it's this whole not to go on my anti-pot rant, but it's not good for a society, frankly. We didn't have these fentanyl problems during the Reagan session. We had the Just Say No campaign. We didn't have fentanyl as an issue. We didn't have all this other stuff. Maybe we should have tried teaching kids say no to drugs, opposed to, be careful what you take because it could have fentanyl in it. It's like, how about you just tell the kids, hey, you don't, how you can avoid the whole fentanyl crisis, the risk of getting fentanyl poisoning? Don't do drugs. That's how simple it is, Although I have been told, well, what if they got a Tylenol that was laced with fentanyl? Not if you buy it at the supermarket like normal people.
Yeah. And we definitely have the fentanyl that's inferior and
Mhm.
that actually that's just laced so that it'll actually kill you right away
Mhm.
rather than large doses. There are a lot of problems
Mhm.
in the United States with all of this. I don't know what the real answer is. I mean, yeah, I mean, just say no would be a great simple answer to that, but it's like a lot of other things in this country. If we would abstain from these things, we'd probably be a lot better off. But how do you get
Mhm.
people to just
It's
abstain?
like putting the genie back in the bottle or the toothpaste back in the tube. And states that have legalized marijuana have seen an uptick in car accidents. Colorado is the most famous study, but even in Maryland, we're seeing more and more of these types of wrecks. They just don't report it. I mean, why is it that a cop can't pull someone over if they smell marijuana smell coming out of the car? Frankly, and according to the Maryland legislature, you can't do that because it's all about the Democrats' soft on crime agenda. Frankly. Um,
Yeah, I mean they've decriminalized marijuana, and then you had the whole thing in Oregon where they just pretty much decriminalized a lot of things, and now they've passed a law. They've now decided that there's going to be some offenses,
mhm,
drug offenses and things like that are going to be misdemeanors uh,
mhm.
because they've had such a high crime problem and drug problem,
Yeah,
which of course the liberals have jumped. A lot of them jumped in there. It's like, no, this is racism and blah blah blah, systemic racism and all this
it's
stuff.
not. It's like I tell you when they cry racism, it's like it's not systemic racism. It's called they're breaking the law. You know, but we've got a lot of these judges on the bench, who are like soft on, oh, it's only a marijuana possession, pay a fine and leave. It's like you need to put some teeth in some of these laws back. Actually, put the teeth back in some of these laws, frankly. Uh,
I mean, when they've with the bail system, right? I mean,
mhm.
a lot of that has been eliminated, and just like,
Yep.
well, that's a problem. It's
Yeah.
and they've seen that. I mean, you just if you eliminate the bail system, then what do you have? That's just crazy, and they pay the price for that. Um,
Mhm.
but that's the thing, if they tried to reinstitute that, it's going to be the same thing. It's like, we got rid of it because it was a racist, system. It's like, no, I mean it's something that had been working in this country
Mhm.
for a long, long time,
Well,
and at
I
least
tell
try to
yeah.
help moderate, the crime, keep some of these guys from getting back on the streets right away
Mhm.
and committing more crimes.
And if you look at the police officer that passed away last week, not last week, they just had the funeral last week for him.
Officer Diller.
Yep. And the guy was arrested several times prior. And because of New York City and Alvin Bragg's soft on crime policies, he was let out and then he murdered finally. And now he's not being let out. It's like, is that how many crimes? It's like, DC is not as safe as it used to be. Our friend Gary Collins got mugged in Adams Morgan a few weeks ago, I think as it was. I think it's been a couple of weeks, but we all know Gary. He got mugged, and it's funny. He moved from Baltimore to DC. I don't think he was mugged in Baltimore, but he got mugged in DC, which is a little funny that he was safer in the city of
He
Baltimore.
moved to DC.
Yeah,
Huh.
he's the evidently they identified him as the crime reporter for Sinclair Broadcasting, which is they had him. They took away. They took his cell phone, his wallet, his credit cards. His watch. I think.
I thought he was. I thought he was. I thought he had some gig on like the one of those radio shows stations or something.
Yeah, maybe because with radio now you can do it remotely from home. Maybe he does it from he's got a studio at his house in DC, but he lives in DC now. But it's all because Adams Morgan was a safe area. There was somebody mugged not too far from the old AIM offices. If you down on Connecticut Avenue in Van Ness. And as you know, Don, you worked there. I worked there. You worked there a lot longer than I did, but that is a very safe part of DC. You feel like you're in Chevy Chase at that point.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Yeah, they definitely are tried to. That old office, turned into some, pricey apartment complex, right,
Yeah.
and everything like that.
Mhm.
So they were definitely trying to upgrade the area. I mean,
Mhm.
I can't say the Burger King across the street that existed, was great for had great clientele or whatever,
Mhm.
but or that UDC and some of the students there. But
Mhm.
in general, yeah, I don't,
I mean,
I didn't, I definitely was at the off, we had people working in the office late and doing stuff.
I mean, you and I would come in like earlier. I'd be in there about 7:15 or so.
Yeah.
And the winter months, you're walking in the dark from Van Ness, which was about maybe 2 blocks from Van Ness's.
Yeah.
And never did I feel, unsafe.
Yeah.
It's
It's unfortunate how these areas have changed in that sense too. I mean, you would think as they tried to gentrify, that would help the areas, but sometimes that other element comes in there and sees an opportunity.
And I mean, the fact that people who live by WMAL, Chris Plant was talking with somebody who was stabbed in the neck on a bus getting off on Wisconsin Avenue in Friendship Heights. I mean, that is unheard of. It was the DC side of Friendship Heights, but still, that is not a place. I mean, we used to go to lunch there all the time. I think at least once a quarter we'd go to that Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
And I think there was the pizza place over there we'd go to.
California Pizza Kitchen was over there.
Yes.
That a lot, yeah.
Yes. Is it still there? I know a lot of them have shut down.
Yeah.
I know all the Bertucci's except the one in Howard County by where Jeff lives is still around. And because even the one in 2010 is gone now too.
Did you guys ever have? We had them in Alexandria and a couple other places. Mario's Pizza.
No,
It's like a dive.
So.
It's like a late night dive. It's a white building, kind of with the red trims. Mario's Pizza. Anyway, I for some reason thought about.
I've gone to Bugsy's in Old Town down on the waterfront.
Yeah.
It's very similar to Armand's.
Yeah, it is probably like an Armand's. Oh, I was in a restaurant in Maryland the other day. I remember telling you how a lot of Maryland places are good, and this was one in Baltimore County. It was like 1600 something. It was like
it Missoni's?
What was it?
Was it Missoni's?
It might have been. For some reason, I think the name 1600 was in it. 1600 something.
Then that's not Missoni's. Missoni's is Missoni's. And that is the best restaurant. That's the best restaurant in Baltimore. You should have gone to Missoni's instead.
You ever been to G&M's?
No, where's that?
That's I think near the airport. It was an Italian sort of place. G&M's. I don't know what it stands for, but they had the best crab cakes that I ever had.
Crab cakes are an Italian place in Maryland. Who would have thunk it?
Oh yeah, that's right. I think it was Italian. I think it was an Italian place, but very good.
They got a lot of nice restaurants over by the airport. Was this over by the Rundle Mills exit? Is that where you're thinking of? Or was it in that area?
I'm not thinking of. A friend drove, and
there is a good pizza place also inside Maryland Live casinos too. By the way.
Oh, is there? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've been to Maryland Live like once, lost money, and that was it.
We used to do our state party conventions there. We had our red, white, and blue dinner there with Mike Pompeo.
Okay, all right, good, yeah.
That was a great event.
See, that's the thing about being a passenger. You're not paying as much attention.
Yeah.
That's right. I think I do pay more attention than I should. But
I just look out the window.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of the directions, but it was a pretty good restaurant. So they had a buffet, and it was an Eastern buffet. So it was pretty good. But
buffets are good. The best buffet used to be at a place called Mrs. K's.
Oh, I love Mrs. K's. The Toll House.
Yeah,
Mrs. K's. Yeah, I love it.
They had the best brunch there.
But you said they're closed now.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they closed several years ago. It's been years now.
They closed in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh, did they? Okay.
But
I'm glad Old Angler's Inn is still going strong.
Yes, it is. Even that other place, it had the Golden Popover. Normandy Farms is gone too.
Oh, Normandy Farms is gone?
It's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, wow.
Angler's Inn is the only one like that type that.
I had a cousin that worked at Normandy Farms.
Really? Hunters, what is it? Yeah, I have not been to the new place, Susan. I've heard Mark has been there. Mark likes that place.
Oh, yeah. There was another Irish place I went to. I don't know where it was, but that was out
Hunters
near
Inn?
that way. What was it?
Was it where was it, in Silver Spring or Bethesda?
I think Bethesda. I forgot, it was years ago. It was pretty good. It was like an Irish bar / restaurant.
Okay.
That was pretty good. I forgot the name, but that was good. So yeah, a lot of good restaurants in Maryland.
Mm-hmm. If you're ever in Annapolis, Galloway Bay is really good too.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
But speaking of restaurants, a lot of these restaurants are shutting down, Don, as well as retailers. Did you hear it today? Because of Biden inflation, the 99-cent store is going out of business.
Yeah, and when I first saw that story, I was first thinking like, I forgot they were still around.
I remember them. I don't think they're in our area. I
don't think they're here. They're not here. I think they
were like in California, Texas.
Yeah, there's other parts of the country.
But New Jersey used to have 99-cent stores on the boardwalk. They weren't the same 99-cent store because
I don't know what you can get for 99 cents.
Well, I mean, that was the problem for Dollar Tree, right, and things like that.
They raised their now it's $1.75.
They had to bump up the price because everything had gone up so much.
Yeah,
that's going to be $1.75.
Okay.
The Dollar Tree is going to be the $1.75 tree.
Well, they repriced the basic one as to like $1.25 for most things.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have some $2 and $3 items as well.
Mm-hmm.
They just succumbed to inflation. And the dollar store business became a lot tougher because of inflation.
Yeah. I tell you, wait till the $5 store decides we can't be the $5 store.
Well, I mean, five below, which is basically what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
I mean,
even
that's hard for them because the stuff, the cost of the goods is gone up, and so the things that you were selling for $5 or less are, you can't really sell them for $5. It's hard to do that.
Yeah.
So it's
well,
but they'll be the $20. They'll be the $20.
Stake your name on it. It's like Dollar Tree. Everybody figures it's $1. Well, not really anymore. What do you do? Five below. You've got to struggle there.
You really box yourself in with the title.
Yeah.
One way I know that you can see inflation is if you watch some of the older TV shows, like the detective show. I was watching Mannix the other day, and when he bribes someone for information, he whips out of his pocket, pulls out like a $10 bill.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, you could buy some information with $10. I don't know if you can buy what time of day it is with $10, right?
You can buy coffee. Starbucks coffee, if you get the venti, it's like $5.65.
Man,
you probably have to lay out at least $100 now.
Yeah, I would think so. You probably have to bribe with like 50, at least a 50, I think, today.
Yeah.
Didn't Kojak used to bribe with lollipops?
But I assume that's a business expense. When you're buying information, I assume you can write that off.
Yeah, I mean.
With inflation, the Wall Street Journal did this little kind of like pictograph thing or whatever, showing some prices of some groceries and stuff like that, and said in like March of 2020 kind of thing, here's what $100 would have bought you, and then today those same goods are $136, and apparently they use that on Good Morning America or whatever, and Michael Strahan, the former football player, was like, wow, he's like, even he was shocked about how much things have gone up. And, it's that same thing that keeps happening is that, Biden and company keep talking about how inflation is cooled. Yeah. I mean, the rate of inflation has generally slowed down, though lately it's kind of plateaued and it has a little bit of an upward tick. But the thing is that inflation hasn't dropped in the sense of like we are all paying more for basic good stuff, and we're not going to see most of those prices dropping, right? They've reached a new level where there's a new baseline for that, and that's what it is, and it's going to be that going from there and going up. But it's going to be pretty rare when you see something that actually has a long-term downtrend and and reverts back. But those prices from 3 or 4 years ago, they're long gone. You're not going to see car prices of 2019, 2020, whatever. That's not going to happen.
And it's inflation on top of inflation. So even if it's less inflation, it's still it's on a bigger base.
We still have inflation, right? We still
right.
That's the thing. We still have inflation. And
price of gas is still around $3.65 a gallon, frankly,
Yeah, I mean,
it's gone up. It's pretty high now. I see.
I mean,
like 359.
I mean, oil prices are headed towards $100 a barrel here. They've been creeping up, so we're going to see more upward pressure on gas prices. And that the more that happens, the closer to the election. It's stuff like that. It's those basics. If they continue to tick up, if we have gas prices at $4.25 or whatever, nationwide, our average, I mean, excluding California, which is always higher, things like that. Voters are going to remember that. That will trump a lot of other things, for them when they vote.
I agree. It's still going to be an issue. And the other thing is Obama sold off a lot of the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, right? We sold off a lot of that to try to hold down the price. Huh? Yeah, I think we sold off like half of it.
And you never refilled it when the prices went down a little bit during the pandemic,
Oh, really? So we didn't
refill it. And then Biden obviously was, he did that. He sold off a lot of reserve to try to tamp down prices.
Yeah.
And then, then they took bids to restock it. But a lot of oil companies were not interested in the prices that the government was offering to pay. So, that creates a conundrum. It's not like they're just going to go out and buy it. They're looking for a certain price because they're buying so much. But there's nothing that says the oil companies have to accept that price. The government wants.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're clamping down on drilling. We're not fracking anymore. We're not building nuclear power plants. How are we going to charge up all these EVs that Joe Biden wants you to buy? And the EV market, I think, is going to crash. As you know, and I've recently purchased a Cadillac, right? At the Cadillac dealership, there's many of the lyrics you see. They have a bunch of lyrics on the lot, which are priced. They're still high, but like 65,000. They're like I think in the $65,000 range, something like that. I could tell you exactly what it is, but roughly, you could get a lyric for about between 55 and 65. But I just think it's funny that they can't keep the Escalades in stock, but they can. They've got they got all the lyrics you can buy, and it's and that just shows nobody wants the lyric, frankly.
Well, I mean, all the main manufacturers, and I'll exclude Tesla from this because Tesla is strictly EV, but our traditional car makers, GM, Ford, and Stellantis, which owns Chrysler, they put a lot of effort and money into EVs. I think we may have talked about this in the past where, GM, Mary Barra, they pulled back on it. Ford said they realized that, they're losing money for every EV they were selling. Not as much as the EV startups, the Rivians and
the Rivians are insane.
I mean, they're losing just money hand over fist for every car they sell. I mean, Tesla's profitable, but when the old line, the big three, they lose money on this stuff. There's a limit to how much money that they can
look
lose.
at this, Don. The price of a $55,000 gets you a new lyric.
Right, and so that's actually EV prices for some cars are coming down to match prices of some internal combustion engine cars, which is remarkable in that sense, shows how much the market has changed. But then you still have the issue of where are you going to charge? Are you going to get a charger installed in your home, so that you can do it, so you can have it, so you get a kind of a fast charger if you've got a car that can do that, or do you just charge it normally, which requires easily overnight, if not more, to get your car up to speed. But the other part of it, it's not just cars. I mean, Biden has also mandated trucks, right?
Yep.
Go EV. But I think that's the bigger problem, is that the EV trucks have really limited mileage because they have big batteries, but they also, because they carry a load, the heavier the load, the more taxed the battery is, and the less range they have, and then they have to go and get it charged up, and they lose lots of time waiting for their vehicle to charge up. They don't make as many deliveries. All those things, I think, wind up being passed on to the consumer. So it's kind of that, that part of this is that, which the Biden administration, won't talk about, is just that what is the cost of going to EVs, particularly if you're trying to force our trucking industry to switch from diesel to EV, but they're not going to be able to make as many deliveries. They can't go as far. All kinds of issues that will crop up, that'll continue to add to the cost of goods, and then keep underlying inflation, from ever reaching the level that you want it to reach. I mean, are we going to, is 3%, 4%, our inflation, new normal now, from what we were used to?
I mean, did you notice the difference, Don? I put in for an Escalade. They only have one Escalade, but I think they had 29 lyrics sitting on the lot. Which, I remember when you go to the dealership lots, they'd have rows and rows of Yukons and Escalades or Tahoes, and they've only got one Escalade now. But compared to
and every car on the lot costs the dealer money, because the dealer is financing those cars until they're
the floor plan, and it's ridiculous how expensive everything's gotten. And I can see a lot of these family-owned dealerships like Sport Chevrolet. They've got to be struggling with all this stuff, because they're not like a mega dealership.
They're the broken ones. I have like 3 bad pairs and some good pairs, and the bad pairs remain on the desk. The good pairs are in my pocket. So if I'm here, I'm using the bad pairs. So.
I did when I first started wearing glasses, Dave, like just reading glasses. I was breaking them like 2 or 3 a month.
Yeah, I break them all the time.
That's
why I get the cheapest ones, because when I pay a lot for them, they break, and they break quick. So
we just buy our reading glasses at Costco when they're on sale.
Yeah. I actually go to I buy them on Amazon. I get a decent deal on Amazon, but I have now going to be getting not prescription, but bifocal reading glasses. I've also ordered, I'll find out what they're like. I also ordered like a transitional reading glasses where you can go from, because I'm finding I'm going to need to have something like that, because sometimes in the car, the gauges are a little smaller now on the new car.
Well, for me, the worst part about getting old, at least so far, I'm sure it gets worse, but for me, it's glasses. I always had perfect vision, and I'm still fine for distance. I just wear readers, but I can't really read anything without glasses. And even on the computer, I've got glasses usually.
Like my reading, what do you call it? My readers are about 1.5s.
Yeah, I'm something like that as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have to have readers really to read anything. So that's weird. I don't like that, but what can I do? There's nothing I can do.
But I found that once I thought, maybe I should just try, try the 2.25s or go to 2.0. they hurt my eyes a little bit. The higher, the magnification.
Yeah, if you don't need to go that high, yeah.
But actually, it's funny, Don. We finally got this is like the first generation coming with iPads and all that stuff. Kids are developing stigmatism, nearsightedness earlier and earlier, because of all the digital time, frankly.
Mm.
We, being Gen X kids, we just watch too much television, and so our eyes were perfect for the longest time.
Yeah.
I don't think I think I started reading glasses when I was 45. That's when I first got my first pair.
Mm-hmm.
And the first pair I got was a 1.25 at the ophthalmologist. Oh, these are too strong for your eyes. You really don't need them. That you need like a 0.75 or something like that. And I don't think they sell 0.75. I think it's like they start at 1.
Well, I remember there's a picture of me not too long ago, but I'm reading a magazine, and of course I didn't have glasses on. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't say not too long ago. I guess it was a good 10 years ago at least or so. Mm-hmm. But now, I'd have to have glasses to read any magazine or anything really. So.
As we get close to that the speed limit, the national speed limit, our eyes will, deteriorate a little bit,
Yeah, I don't like it, but anyway, what can I do?
Yeah, I know. Aging is it's not fun in that sense. I mean, I can still read a newspaper without glasses, but not as well as I can with readers.
Yeah.
It's just like this. I'm like, oh well, this is so disappointing. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put the reading glasses on. And that'll just be better for me.
Yeah, I agree.
What a novel concept, Don. You're reading a physical newspaper.
yeah. It's like a lot of things, though. I mean, you can get a lot of news. I mean, you can get a lot of news online and try to read a paper online, but I will read the entire Wall Street Journal from cover to cover, basically. Online, you have to kind of go through a lot of stuff. And so it takes a lot longer to read all those articles. For me, you turn the page, and you go through, and then you're done. Go on to section B or whatever. Mm-hmm. Can do that. But online, there's a lot of jumping around, and it would really literally take forever to read the entire paper online. Unless you even if they have the the edition that actually emulates the print edition, it's still just very time consuming and everything like that. And so, yeah.
I do miss the sales circulars and the physical paper they used to have, like for the food sections and stuff like that. You get to see, what they have. And now I just look on my phone and it has.
I mean, my wife, she's always checking online for the Korean grocery stuff and what's going on there, and it's all online, right? You just
are they online, like the Hunans and the Lottes? They're online.
The H Mart and the Lotte,
that's H Mart, not Hunan. Hunan's a restaurant chain.
Yeah, you just look them up online and do that, and so.
Yeah, it's the thing about papers. I mean, I still would physically read a paper, but I guess they're not really doing that anymore. Everything's now just online, I guess. I mean, I guess they still deliver a paper. I mean, I assume it still takes place.
Mm-hmm. I know we have at least one neighbor, person in our neighbor getting the New York Times in print.
Okay,
which is expensive. I mean, I'm sure. I know it was expensive when I used to get it, 10 plus years ago. I can't even imagine what they charge for that now. It's like, you kind of are forced to go digital. I mean, I have the Washington Post at a discount because I want to check that for business stuff purposes. But I'm paying $29 a year for that. They're not going to deliver it to my doorstep for $29 a year.
Right.
Yeah. And I tell you, the Washington Post, let me tell you, it used to have their Monday's business section was probably the best of our regional newspapers.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Yeah.
I remember their Thursday paper that had the big car sections with all the car dealership ads and stuff like that. They used to deliver the paper in halves. You'd get this half of the Sunday paper Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
Then they started delivering half of that with your Saturday paper in the morning.
Yeah, I used to deliver the post, and that's what would happen. I would have to put the paper together because they'd
You have to
have,
put rubber bands
especially
around
the
it.
Sunday section. The Sunday section, you had a whole, it's like 2 papers in one.
Yeah.
You had a whole nother big insert because of all the coupons and stuff that they put in it. So,
And you have the TV guides too. I think now do they just pre-bundle the papers in the bags that the newspaper people just throw them, or do the kids still have to? I don't know. Do they have kids that do paper?
I know the guy that delivers a journal in my neighborhood. I think he's delivering other papers like the Post, stuff like that too. I think he's coming around in a van at about 2:00 in the morning,
yeah,
just throwing them along the driveway.
yeah.
So,
I used to do that.
gosh.
Hey, Jason, welcome to the show.
You want to bring us to a fast finish there, right, Jason?
Yeah.
Well, I was scrolling on Facebook and I heard you guys talking about newspapers, and then I figured I would chime in.
Yeah,
Okay,
chime in.
And
Do you know what they are, Jason?
You may not know.
I prefer to read a paper copy.
Yeah.
Really?
But I have learned that with my, it's actually right behind me, with my library card, I go on the library's website and they have like all the newspapers for free.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's good.
And you know what Arthur used to say, Jason? Having fun isn't hard when you have a library card.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I wonder if Montgomery County does that, Dwight. Whether or not if the library card.
Actually, Montgomery County actually does really well. They also have, and I found out about this from one of my cheapskate friends who told me that, the lynda.com, which is now LinkedIn training, you get that for free if you've got a Montgomery County library card. All that training, is free. I think it's all Maryland public libraries. Actually, even in Arnold County, you can go to get free training on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I don't get in Anne Arundel is we don't get the Post. We get the Sun and we get the Baltimore Banner and we get all these other things, but we don't get the Post.
The Baltimore Banner. Is that a print?
No, it's not even print. But it is. But Baltimore Banner is very hardcore with their paywall, and I think you only get one free article a month.
I don't know how, but the Baltimore Sun is being a paywall. But I seem to be able to. I don't think I'm paying for the Baltimore Sun, but I do get to.
Sometimes it just lets me in. I've noticed that too. Sometimes it'll just let me in.
Because I know, like, Dirk sent me some link to a Baltimore Sun article, and he says, he goes, you'll probably only see a little bit of it because it's behind a paywall. I go, I see the whole thing.
I mean, the Wall Street Journal, they have. If you go online, and you want to share a link, some of the articles, will say it's like this article is like you can freely gift it to others. Rather than being behind the paywall. So, because others, if you post it, the person, if they open it, they'll have to pay to actually read it.
Yeah.
So, but there are a lot of articles that they put up, kind of as little teasers, little ways to kind of, oh, you like this, maybe you'll want to subscribe or whatever. But I think the Journal had the best overall model from the get-go in terms of they knew that there was a digital, demand out there, and they had a digital product before really anybody else did, in addition to their print product. And so people could do that. And if you signed up for print, you could get print and digital, or you could just pay for the digital, which was a heck of a lot cheaper. But,
And the Wall Street Journal actually is relatively a bargain at the price point it's at. Sometimes you get really good deals. Like, I know, I got a year's subscription for $99 once for the Wall Street Journal. I don't know what I'm paying now for, but it's not bad. $99, for 52, for.
Yeah,
that's not bad. I get it free with my library card. So
I think the going rate for the Journal, well,
they're not charging you for the library cards anymore.
I get the print one at home, and it's about $30 a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got a good deal, Dwight. I've got the Wall Street Journal as well. I'm not sure what I pay, but I do. I do read the Wall Street Journal. I should read more of it than I do.
You know what's funny is, like, when you put things on auto pay,
Yeah.
You forget. Like I was going to cancel this journal after a year, and I forgot to do that. Now it's like 5 years later. So
yeah, for me, I subscribed to the Richmond Times Dispatch, and I did it a while ago, and I had forgotten. And I was looking at my credit statement, and I'm wondering what is this charge? And I realized that's what it is. I haven't, and I feel bad. I should read the paper, but I haven't read the paper, the Richmond Times Dispatch, in a bit, and I've been paying for it for.
Well, homework assignment for you, Dave, is see if you could use your library card to read in Fairfax County.
I bet we got it.
Yeah, you may be right.
By the way, Jason, Stu Pittman, when he hears about this, he's going to have a user fee to get a library card. He's going to charge $25 to get a library card.
There's no way they're not going to charge. Their whole thing, Dwight, is giving stuff away for free. It's not about.
Yeah, I hope so.
Democrats
raise your
stuff. They're going to give away for. Actually, we had this bill this past session that was going to. There's never any late fees on any books for anybody ever in Maryland libraries.
Wow.
So
I returned the book I checked out in the 12th grade.
The law, I want to spread out to all the Moms for Liberty groups to go down and check out all the books that they don't like and then never take them back.
That's great.
It's funny. When I was, I think it was maybe in the 10th grade. I checked out a book on Henry Kissinger from our school library. Right. I got a letter home. Hey, you haven't returned the book yet to our library. I mean, it's sitting in my locker. It's like.
Well, remember the Seinfeld episode when years later George Costanza checked out the book Tropic Cancer, and it was decades later, and they tracked him down, and they said, "Where's the library book?" So, anyway, but Jason, that's a great idea. I should I'd look into that. I haven't.
It does make me think, Jason, though, that that the library system is a pet project of the Democrats and liberals. They love funding it. So like you find ways of just so you can give stuff away for free.
Oh, you know what you need to do?
Constituents so
they can have story time
funding.
Do you guys have story time in Anne Arundel County for your libraries? Like where somebody could meet the authors?
We definitely used to. I don't
know. We need to get Bob to go into a reading of 101. His new book to the kids, in the children's section. Bob would have so much fun doing that, I bet. Last couple of news: the eclipse is coming on Monday. If you're superstitious.
Have any school systems in Maryland closed or are getting off early? I see that they're.
Somebody said Montgomery County is closing schools for the eclipse.
The thing I saw about Montgomery County was that they were going to make a decision at 5 a.m. or something like that, and let everybody know. I don't know if that really is going to hold. I mean, I guess
would you rather have MCPS could get a whole bunch of eclipse classes for the kids, and they could turn this into a science experiment. How to make those those cereal box things.
No early release for the eclipse. No fun.
Oh, Montgomery County is not releasing.
There was some sort of article that was floating around saying that people should take off of work.
Why?
I don't know, to experience it. Which then I realized we had an eclipse like last year.
I remember being in school. We had an eclipse. I remember when I was
2017. What's funny is there's a big watch party at Goddard for the eclipse. It's great. It's great. 2017, we had a bunch of people there. Christina Trotta, Jim Loss, a bunch of people came on. I got them on to Goddard's campus to watch the eclipse. We got the free eclipse glasses. By the way, I actually have 2 pairs from the last eclipse. Would they still be good, or they've gone bad? Do you think?
I don't think they go bad.
I don't think they go bad.
I think they do.
I remember somebody at Goddard said out here, "Don't save these for the next eclipse. We'll get new. We'll have so."
Well, you have to watch out because apparently there are a lot of counterfeit eclipse
No,
glasses.
these are actually from NASA. These have NASA branding.
Well, I'm
on
sure
them.
yours are from NASA, but more to the viewing public.
Yeah, people have got to watch out for this. I mean, that you don't buy the fake stuff, but people get sucked in all the time, especially with Amazon selling so many products from China and everything like that you'll wind up with something that will actually damage your eyes. So that would not be good at all. But I saw the MoCo show said MCPS said no early release, schedule as normal in Montgomery County for schools.
Good, like they should, frankly.
Yeah. There are so many people that are flying to cities, and they're renting Airbnbs and stuff like that, and they're ready. Which more power to them. I mean, that's.
Well, it'll be 40 years before we see another one.
Well, hopefully there won't be any cult-like mass suicides. Remember the comet? Remember years ago? I was at NET. Yeah. I was at NET at the time, and I was supposed to be like.
Bill Lynn made a few comments about it too, if you remember.
Huh?
Bill Lynn made a few comments about the Hale-Bopp comet.
Yeah, I remember that guy. Cult. That guy who was the leader of the cult. Yeah, he was an odd one, but
he looked weird, But yeah, I mean, they're probably New York prisoners. They get to go out and see the eclipse because of their religion, including the atheist ones.
Because they were going to keep it. They were going to keep it locked down, right?
Even the atheists gets to go see it on religious grounds.
Back in the olden days, though, people they'd watch the sky, and it wasn't like you had TV and movies and other things, and it was a big deal for so many people when you had these type of events. Well, and my father was telling me that his father had talked about, remember Halley's Comet? Today we don't think it's that big of a deal, but there was real panic just over Halley's Comet. They thought
that was like 1988, right? 88, 89.
Something like that. And then I don't know how many years beforehand it was.
Benson episode where the comet came too close and melted everyone, and Benson and Krauss were the only two people left alive.
Well, Dwight, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna have to check out.
Okay, we're at okay. You want to give us your final thoughts, or you would just save it for next week? Your final.
Well,
thoughts?
I will if you don't mind. I'll be brief.
Sure, give your final thoughts.
Two things. Number one, my uncle passed away, and we had the funeral at the Congressional Cemetery. I'd never been to the Congressional Cemetery. It was in D.C., kind of a rough place, but it was a fascinating cemetery. There's so many famous people there. So we pull in and we park, and I walk to my the gravesite, and I look to my right, and what do I see? But John Quincy Adams, his gravesite right there. Walk right past it. I was like, wow.
The gravestone, not President Quincy, John Quincy Adams.
Yeah, John Quincy Adams, congressman, and then president, and back to Congress. And then, but what struck me when we first drove in, I started seeing that there's members of Congress, the gravesites. I look to my left, and I see Preston Brooks. And you remember Congressman Preston Brooks? He's the one that caned Charles Sumner on the Senate floor. But there was Preston Brooks's grave. But there were other people buried there. Matthew Brady was buried there. J. Edgar Hoover buried there.
Most famous GW alumni, J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah. So, it was a really nice cemetery. It wasn't all that easy to get to, but it was a nice cemetery. And then the second thought is the book is done, my sequel, and the publisher will have it. And then fingers crossed, I don't know if it's going to be good or acceptable, but I did it. I wrote it like in 3 to 4 weeks. I just did nothing but that. And then a lot of the rewrite. But it was I'm kind of glad to get it off my mind because I can't juggle two things really at once. When I'm thinking of the book, I'm totally into that. And so my Substack took a hit. I wasn't doing Substack. I wasn't doing much of anything else. I just kept thinking about this book. So finally, I think I've gotten it done for the most part. So whether it's any good or not, I don't know. So we'll find out. But anyway, that's about it. And sorry to cut out on you, but I look forward to seeing you guys then next week.
Yep.
All right.
See you next week.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you. See you guys.
Yeah. So also, Joe Lieberman passed away this week. Every Republican's favorite Democrat, the last of the Blue Dog Democrats, who was shunned out of his party. But anyways, I guess we'll just go to final thoughts, or do you want to take a couple more topics? Your call, Don.
No, we probably should wrap it up. We're already over time.
That is true. We're in extra innings, Okay, so Don, final thoughts. You go.
For me, yeah. So I mean, you mentioned Joe Lieberman. I mean, and everything like that. And then just so he passes away after a fall, and then we just heard that No Labels, which he was heavily involved with, has folded up shop in essence, and they've closed up their effort to find to field a candidate for 2024. They couldn't find anybody that was willing to run as their candidate, so they poured a lot of money into this, and they got absolutely nothing out of that. Though I do think the Democrats were relieved at this, because I think they were worried that there was going to be somebody there that would suck votes away from Biden.
Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema.
Yeah, I mean, they had Larry Hogan and Chris Christie had turned them down. Manchin turned them down. They just had no one to go with. So I don't know what that means for the organization overall, and whether or not they're going to try to take another shot in 2028. But trying to run a third party is always very difficult.
Just ask John Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, some actually do something, but the whole No Labels thing, I think it's called into question as a result of that. So Trump's SPAC went public. It shot up at the beginning, and it's been about halved in value since that time. It's a highly speculative stock. It was a SPAC that went public. So initially, from the IPO, the media, I think, was having a heart attack, thinking like, oh my gosh, Donald Trump was worth an extra $5 billion. Now they're like gleefully going, ooh, he's lost $2 billion in the past week. This is great, kind of a thing like that. But it is a speculative stock. The company almost, they pretty much ran out of cash. So whether or not this is even close to being a viable business is pretty darn questionable, at this point. And Trump's got, normally have a lockup period. There's no guarantee there'll be much worth to the company in 6 months when Trump can actually start cashing out.
Mm-hmm.
There may not be a lot of cash there for him to take out of the company, and he has to watch out, since he owns so much of the company, that if he starts cashing out, that could, in two big chunks, what happens there? More people, could potentially drive the value of the company down even further. So it's interesting to watch, but I don't think people should put a whole lot of stock in this stock.
No.
Trump supporters went kind of nuts by buying it, but I think they were nuts to buy it. But that's their prerogative. It's like buying Dogecoin, right? You can buy it or you don't have to buy it. It's
yeah. And here's the thing: I think with stocks, you gotta take your political heart out of the buying process. Okay, I own Berkshire Hathaway. I actually own 2 shares of Berkshire Hathaway. The share that you're only supposed to own 1 of, but I've got 2 of those. There's no reason for it, frankly, for owning it. But I mean, I would not own Berkshire. If I had my political hat on, I would not buy Berkshire Hathaway. What's his name? He is a flaming leftist, from Nebraska. He's turned Omaha blue, frankly.
But you do respect him. Warren Buffett, one of the world's greatest businessmen and investors. So buying shares in Berkshire, the A shares are, they're pretty impossible to own because they cost so much money. The B shares are still reasonable, but they're a good investment in the long run. So you own some shares of that, you probably do well, by doing so. But you don't have to agree politically. I don't. You sometimes have to separate yourself from that in terms of, this is good business. Yeah, sure, go ahead, buy it for the business and not the politics of it all. But I don't have a problem either if somebody wants to hold a political litmus test, and say we're not going to own, shares of certain companies.
It's all to each their own, frankly. I'm not saying, I want to make money is the way I look at it. I have, Coke shares and, as in Coca-Cola, the drink. You know, although now it's okay to own Coke because they're pro-Israel, while Pepsi's.
Yeah, remember I was involved, working a little bit for that ETF that was, trying to stay as close to conservative principles as they could, which was very hard to do because, in reality, if they were really going to stick to true conservative principles, they would own next to nothing.
Yeah.
So they couldn't throw everything out, but they've thrown a few stocks out over time. Since they launched, a few years ago, they're up about 60%, I think, or whatever. It was a 40%. If 60%, I think they're up 60%. So it hasn't been a terrible investment for people who bought it at the beginning. Even if people bought it last year, still a lot.
Although Jason is the investing genius because he bought AMC and GameStop.
Yeah.
Are you Mr.
He ran the tables on that one. He actually did very well there.
I didn't buy at the very beginning when it was like $5, but I did get in when it was like 15, and then it shot up to 250 a share or whatever, and I think I ended up selling at 200. Of course, I didn't buy that many shares. I wish I had put all of my money into it, but
and the tax man gets their share too.
Honestly, I really don't think interest income should be taxable, frankly. And it'd be like if I bought a pack of seeds.
I don't think any income should be taxable.
I agree there too. I agree more with that. It's kind of like my view is this. It's like if you were planting a farm, you're planting corn, right? You pay for the seeds, right? You don't pay for every single corn that comes up. The guy says, "Well, you got to give me a little bit of corn that came up because those were my seeds." That's kind of how I view taxes and interests are. They should not. Interest should not be taxable, frankly. Income should not be taxable. We should just work with custom fees and tariffs and stuff like and passport fees to run the country like we used to in the 1900s.
Or base everything on like a VAT or something like that, and that's how you run the country. Or
I'm not a fan of the VAT actually. But so any other thoughts, Don?
Just gonna say, it's like I really do think that Ted Leonsis pretty much played Virginia and DC.
He played DC. They got played
to get what he wants there. So he's going to get $550 million to redevelop the arena and the surrounding area. They talk about crime down. I don't know. I haven't been down to the arena in a few years, but it's like, I could see that potentially became unsafe, and if they can find a way to improve that, that's great. The problem for moving to Virginia too, I think, was just that where at least the metro in DC was situated and set up to handle large crowds, right? They didn't have that in Virginia, and I don't know what they were planning on doing, but I think Leonsis, I don't think he really ever wanted to leave. I think he was just trying to get the money, and that's what he's getting there. So but these cities will do that. They'll bend over backwards and just throw taxpayer money to keep these sports teams around. So
do you remember when GM used to do their factories and their plants? GM would get, and then GM would be criticized for doing that, and now they praise Ted Leonsis as like uber liberal.
Well, that's how sort of nationally the Chiefs in Kansas City are like known for having a terrible stadium. Even though they win every year, they're known for having a really bad stadium, really bad facilities. They get the worst grades by the players every year. The owner said that he will not upgrade it. So now you have the new mayor, or not the new mayor, the mayor that is newly Republican, is trying to, and I don't know how serious it is, but he's trying to convince the Chiefs that they need to move to Dallas. So they have two football. And so all the time. I saw somebody say that if Leonsis couldn't get Virginia and he couldn't get DC and he couldn't get Maryland, well, we'll move both the teams to St. Louis. So somebody out there will say, yeah, we'll pay to get to.
There is always going to be a city that will be willing to pay a lot of money to get these teams in.
But
that was the thing with the Orioles too. I think before they signed the deal to stay in Maryland for another 30 years, I think Nashville was the one working sort of in the background.
They're going to go back to Tennessee, where they came from.
Nashville is the MLB team.
Yeah, I mean, Nashville is hoping to get an expansion team. So, but if they couldn't, that would have been a way to go ahead and take a team that's already established. It's that would make it. They'll be ready made and they can ready to go for that. But yeah.
I really think the Orioles should move out to Anne Arundel County by the airport. I really think they should move by the airport.
I don't even think that.
No, I would. The reason I would. What's that?
I said, who wants to go out there?
Who wants to dodge bullets going to Camden Yards?
I mean, you do have a point, but also at some point in Glen Burnie, you're also dodging bullets to get there as well.
No, but not if I'm thinking like we just level.
Your car's gonna get broken in while you're in the game. I don't know.
Well, what if we level Arundel Mills and put it there, right next to Maryland Live,
right next to the casino? You might be onto something.
Yeah.
Well, with sports betting, hey, right? All right, back to you, Dwight.
Okay, Jason. Final thoughts. Hey, real quick, tell us about the book event last night. Wasn't it a lot of fun?
It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Ehrlich gave a great speech as usual.
Did you get a picture with the governor?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
You took a lot of, or I don't know if it was you or Jeff taking a lot of good pictures. Just the crowd.
Jeff took the ones to the camera. I took them with the iPhone.
There was a lot of people there, a lot more than I expected. So that was great. Food was good, but yeah, it was a very good event. Saw lots of old friends. And yeah, it was a great event. Congratulations, Dwight.
Thank you. Dirk was the best host. I think Dirk and Jessica, they put out a great spread.
Well, I was shocked. I was shocked as I walked in the house. The wall. I was like, "Where's the wall?" They have a wall that they used to have a wall right when you walked in. There was a foyer, and then off to the right, they had an office, and off to the left, there was a small dining room, and they just busted the whole wall down, and now it's like.
And wasn't it a brick fireplace? The fireplace used to be like granite or something like that. It was not what they have right now, right?
Maybe, I don't know. I haven't paid close enough attention to that. But I'll do a Maryland-centric final thought before I left work this evening, which they could still be in session. I don't know. I got to leave early. They passed the budget.
Any tax increases?
Some that do not affect everybody. We now have the second highest tobacco tax in the country. It's $5 a pack per pack of cigarettes now. So I think you'll be paying almost $15 per pack of cigarettes if you're a smoker. Which we did get a nice thing from the Tax Foundation saying that the people who smoke cigarettes are shrinking. And you're raising this tax, hoping it'll pay for Kerwin and all the education stuff we're forced to pay for over the next.
No, pot's supposed to be. They're using pot for tots.
They're using everything twice. But so they're relying on cigarettes, which is just not going to work, and they'll just be expensive. And I think they also jacked up vapes to like 20%. It's a 20% sales tax on a vape. Let's see. I told you guys the other day that
Uber Eats fees, right?
We're going to do a fee on DoorDash. I don't think they ended up doing the fees on DoorDash, but they did do the fees on Ubers and Lyft. So there's a 75-cent fee every time you get an Uber or Lyft.
So the cab industry lobbied for that tax, didn't the fee of that?
I don't know, because I don't know if it applies to the cab industry, which is very small in Maryland.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. Even in Baltimore City, you don't have a lot of cabs running around like.
I don't know. I don't even know if this is really in the weeds, but I don't know if Maryland. I don't know if we legislate the fees that we collect on cabs, because taxi cabs are regulated by the Public Service Commission, so they're in charge of our utilities and taxis. And all that stuff. But anyway, that aside, so yeah, I don't think they did the DoorDash thing, but they did do the Uber thing.
Garrett will be very happy about that DoorDash.
Garrett should be happy. He was really upset about the DoorDash. They did not do the toll increase. They were going to do how Virginia, and it might come back in a year, but when the Key Bridge went down, it kind of sunk it. They were going to do where it's the optimal toll rate based on how much profit you can make at peak time. So in Virginia, when like getting on the express lanes, like $40.
It'll be like $60 going through the tunnel.
It's going to be a ton of money going over the Bay Bridge in the middle of summer. So they ended up doing that. But they do, Dwight, I have to say, I'm very sorry, but they are doing car registrations by register your car now.
Yep.
By weight. And so I'm sure you have the heaviest weight car, and you'll have to pay like $400 registration instead of the normal
$225 or whatever it is.
Yeah. So
it's and I think the Escalade might actually weigh a little bit more than the Yukon did because it's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I don't know what the threshold. I think the threshold is like 3,600 pounds, and I'm sure you've passed it.
But it's the small Escalade. It's not the big Escalade,
Yeah, and if it was an electric Escalade, you'd be paying, I don't know, $700.
I'd be like ruining the roads. Wasn't there some delegate that was saying all these EVs are ruining the roads, and that was Montgomery County, I think, where they wanted.
Well, it is the thing that people say is that the EVs are a lot heavier, so the wear and tear on the roads that they do is worse than a gas-powered car.
So Marcus should be paying more.
Well, he will be paying more when he goes to register his car the next time. He'll be paying like probably $500, and then they're also charging an extra tax on his when he goes and plugs in.
But do they also, the EVs, are they still free for HOVs and toll lanes and all that?
Also
free.
that away.
They got that away. They took that away.
Mm-hmm.
There goes my incentive for buying a hybrid or an EV. I understand Jeep is giving away the 4xEs right now because they're just not selling.
I don't really see very many of them out on the road. I think there's some sort of problem they have too. I feel, but I can't remember what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking up this registration thing. So if it's under 3,700 pounds, we're paying $135 for 2 years, and then 187 for those over that. But now it's 3,500 pounds. We'll pay another $92 for every 2 years, and over 5,000 pounds, you pay $151 every 2 years extra.
Not to be that kind, but that's not that bad. I was expecting a lot more. That's not too bad. But,
and $250 every 2 years for EVs, $200 every 2 years for plug-in hybrids.
I don't really think EVs should pay more because they don't pay a gas tax.
Well, that was sort of the Republican argument, I think, was that nobody buying an EV is paying into the gas tax. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're actually in other Republican states, I think in like Utah or something, the Republicans are the ones who add the extra EV fees. So it was kind of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Well, you need to fund the transportation budget because that's the one they always raid for other stuff anyway.
Well, all the people driving on the roads have to pay for the red line. So
yeah, it's going to go from nowhere to nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Or the purple line, or
purple line. Oh yeah,
that's another one.
Purple line. Great decision, Hogan, for pushing that one.
By the way, the Baltimore Light Rail and Transit goes from Reisterstown all the way to Cockeysville, right? Nobody's ever on that train. Why do they think putting in a red line is going to be any better?
I don't know. I don't know if the light rail is even that comes down our way ish even runs anymore.
But Jim Ports had a great idea. He goes, "We just there's a couple of streets that go right through the city." He goes, "We make those just BRT lanes do bus rapid transit. Take the cars off that and just have them. That'd be the solution for the red line. Because the red line's supposed to be underground, right?"
I think maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure.
But yeah.
Dwight, I want to know how much Robin is spending on those ads I'm seeing on television when I'm streaming.
Oh, I got a picture of a mailer today.
Oh, I got a mailer too from Robin today. Is it the one with his picture on it and saying how he supports building the wall and stuff like that?
The border.
Yeah.
Robin Ficker, you know.
But I thought I was watching this David Trone commercial, and I thought it was kind of interesting because there's the one with the labor union people supporting him, and one of the guys in there saying like he was tired of high gas prices and like grocery prices, and I'm like, yeah, and voting for David Trone is going to help. It's like,
what are those David Trone commercials?
I think I would look at that again and take that guy out of the ad.
Mm-hmm. Those Trone commercials are horrible, though. I don't like them. They're just, I don't know what it is. They just seem so bland.
That'd be working that well if he's still only beating Angela Also Brooks by like 3 or 4 points, and he's out.
Was that after he made his racist comment about?
I believe so. I think it was.
And is today Robin Ficker's birthday? Really? Happy birthday, Robin!
Hey, Robin.
Oh, friend of the show.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, Jason?
No, that's it.
Orioles Magic. They are doing great this year. I feel it. This is going to be their year. They'll be at or above 500 at the All-Star break. See how far ahead of that bar?
Yeah, they'll be better than that by the All-Star break. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, but you got to manage expectations of the Orioles. That's what history has taught me about the Orioles. And basically the Democrats are attacking JFK for trying to keep him off the ballots in states, in swing states.
RFK.
RFK, yeah.
Votes.
And it's, this is Eclipse Week happening. So if Mitsubishi still made the Eclipse, I'd say, they used to do Eclipse sales, Mitsubishi, back when
Forgot about that car.
they sold Eclipse. Katja had an Eclipse convertible. Also, World Central Kitchen and chef Jose Andres. What a horrible individual he is, He basically, he was supposed to have a restaurant in the former Trump Hotel in D.C. He reneged on that deal, and he spent all of his time bashing President Trump. He did his pop-up kitchens and nonsense stuff. How about, talk about how Hamas is killing innocent Israelis, and how Hamas started this whole war instead of bashing Israel. I think the anti-Semites are coming out of the closet in the Democratic Party. And yeah, I'll say, it's like, it is criminal, frankly. It was an accident. The Israeli government apologized for it. That's enough. You don't need to keep, bashing Israel, frankly. We've got a couple of big things to keep on your calendars. We've got a big celebration for Ellen Sauerbrey coming up on May 6th over at the Towson Sheraton, which is the former Helen Bentley. I used to call it the Helen Bentley Sheraton because Helen Bentley used to do events there. My recommendations, if you're coming from this part of the state or even from where you're from, Jason, get there early because I imagine with all the traffic on 695, it's not going to be pretty getting there.
I'll have to take the light rail.
Go to Towson. I wonder how much it would cost to Uber over there. That might actually be something.
Well, I mean, the Uber doesn't really help you with the traffic. You're just sitting in somebody else's car.
Yeah, it's not. You're not stressing about it at that point. It's the way I look at it. But great event. Also, for if you're a Montgomery County Republican Club member, or if you're not a club member, you can join by April 25th or something like that. And you come to our club exclusive meeting in the evening with Governor Ehrlich and Kendall in Bethesda, Maryland. So, it's free. It's a free event. You'll get a copy of the governor's book, maybe the hardback if it's available then, but you'll get a copy of the governor's book and hang out with the governor. It's be a small exclusive crowd. And that's about it. And thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Good night.
Good night.